'Cause I'm tired of living life this way. Feels like it's never gonna change. So it's down the road I go. You're gonna hear me coming, just listen for the banjo.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to a special episode. Every time I start my podcast, I always fiddle with the mic. I put it to where I want it to be when I set up everything for the podcast, and then I always fiddle with it during the podcast, and I don't know why. I really don't know why, because you guys can hear me fine. But welcome to a special episode of Who Gives a Dram. The reason it's special because this is going to be released on Monday, August 22nd. I am dabbling with the idea of maybe going back to Monday releases, and I think I might be doing an extra episode a week because I've been pretty inconsistent with Who Gives a Dram, and I like to do it. I'll record this at midnight. I don't really care because it's, as I've said before, my church. So I enjoy venting and I enjoy talking with you guys, and I think what we're going to do is maybe do like a revisit of a whiskey that we already reviewed and see if we still feel the same way, and I'll think of some other bit to put in there as well, but it'll be like a shorter episode, maybe Thursdays. I'll do like 20-30 minutes, if that. But that has nothing to do with this episode. This episode is going to be a full review. We're going to do 1792 Foolproof. We're going to talk about what the hell foolproof means, because I didn't even know for the longest time. But we're going to talk about foolproof. We're going to talk about the difference between foolproof and cask strength and barrel strength and entry proof and all that good stuff. We're going to review 1792's Foolproof. We're going to talk about Barton. But the main reason I am releasing this podcast today is because I need to talk about the fights that happened last night. I need to get my thoughts out there and make sure they're fresh. So that's why we're doing it today. While I pour my 1792 Foolproof into my glass, I want to take care of a little bit of business. I just want you guys to know the best way to support the show is to subscribe on all platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Go on YouTube and support the video episodes. That really helps me out a lot. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but it's in the glass. I feel like I have to let this sit for a while, so that's what we're going to do. That's the best way to support Who Gives a Dram. Also go to Bourbon with Friends, BWF Podcast on Instagram. And subscribe to us on all platforms as well, so you can hear me multiple times a week on Who Gives a Dram and on Bourbon with Friends. So you always got Connor content. There's always Connor content coming your way. I know there's at least one or two people out there who like Connor content. But anyways, I would appreciate you guys if you follow on Instagram, Who Gives a Dram, and yeah, we got some cool things coming along the way. I had a great weekend this weekend. It's technically still the weekend. Today's Sunday. I haven't recorded on Sunday in a long time. It's usually Tuesday nights, but we're doing Sunday today, and I had a great day yesterday, Saturday. And the reason I had a great day, it ended up being a fantastic day altogether, but the main reason I had a great day is because I went to something called the Cocktail Carnival, I think, at Foxwoods. Now, that's not something your boy would go to, right? Carnival, clowns, nah, count me out. And I'm not even like scared of clowns anymore. I used to be terrified of clowns. Now I'm not. There's a story, an old story that I read somewhere, and it always kind of freaks me out to think about, but there was somebody babysitting a little kid while the parents were out. And I think it was like a toddler, and the babysitter would go into the toddler's room, and there'd be they had like a life-size clown or like a big clown doll or something like that, and it freaked the kid out. So he would put a blanket over it, but every time he went back into the room, the blanket was off, and the clown was just kind of sitting there, this doll clown, larger size doll clown in the toddler's room. And it got to the point where he called the parents that were out for dinner and said, "Hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, do you guys mind if I take that clown doll that's in your baby's room and just kind of like put it somewhere else? It's kind of freaking me out. And they go, "What clown doll?" And that's where, I start to feel tingly on my arms and the back of my neck. And the babysitter goes, the clown doll, the large clown doll that you guys have in your baby's room. It just is kind of freaking me out. And the parents go, "Get out of the house, call the police. We do not have a clown doll." Now, I just gave myself goosies just thinking about that. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm giving myself goosies right now. That is terrifying. I don't know if that's true or not. It's probably not a true story. Doesn't matter. Don't matter. Still terrifying. And I think about that probably once a month. And so I used to be scared, terrified of clowns. Now I'm not. Now it's kind of like, whatever. A clown's a clown. I don't care. But main point being, your boy would probably never go to something called the Cocktail Carnival. Because A, carnivals, not my jam, not my thing. And B, your boy doesn't really drink cocktails. However, I got notified by my very good buddies Eric and Kyle that they, along with their brand, were going to be present at said convention. And I said, "Oh, you guys are at Foxwoods. That's 20 minutes down the road from my house." Foxwoods is, if you guys don't know what Foxwoods is, it's the largest casino in the world, and it's about 15 minutes from where I live. And Eric was nice enough to comp me 2 tickets, and we went and had a blast. Myself and Kale, my brother. If you guys listen to Who Gives a Dram, then you know who. Even if you listen to Bourbon with Friends, you should probably know who Kale is. Eric and Kyle are the owners of Regimental Whiskey Company, and Regimental is a brand that we interviewed on Bourbon with Friends. That interview will probably come out sometime very soon, within the next few weeks. But, excuse me. Eric was also at the Bourbon Ball in April, and he had bid on a podcast with Paul and I, and he won. I don't remember how much he bid for that podcast opportunity, but he won. And when we figured out who won, we were kind of like, "Eric, I mean, we would have had you on the podcast regardless. Like, you didn't have to do that." But Eric is still active duty military, actually, and one of those guys. He reminds me of Tim Kennedy. It's like he's the nicest guy in the world, but you know that he could probably take down a battalion of men, guerrilla style, and not even think twice about it. Yes, that's the vibe I get from him. But he's the nicest guy ever. And I was talking with him yesterday at this cocktail carnival, and just spit on myself. That's disgusting. At this cocktail carnival, and we just got to talking about the brand, the event, the future of Regimental. He showed us some old Army pictures, which he told me some things, but I'm going to not say them on the podcast. And we had a great time. So I just wanted to say thank you to Eric, both Eric and Kyle. Kyle wasn't at the event, but Eric was. I want to say thank you to you guys for getting me those tickets, allowing me to come and hang out with y'all for a little bit. Eric, it was fantastic to see you. I posted about it on Instagram. So go to Who Gives a Dram. You can see me and Eric together at this convention. They had a beautiful booth. They were doing regimental lemonades, which I was a big fan of. And I was happy to see Eric and the team over there at Regimental. And if you guys haven't checked out Regimental, I will link them below in the show notes. Go check out Regimental on Instagram. They're not available in every state, but they're available in most base shops, or what are they called? Shops that are for liquor stores that are for military only on bases. So they're available through there. But, I can find them in Connecticut pretty easy, thankfully. But I'm a big, their whiskey is good. And I tell this to Eric. We talked about this yesterday. It's not like it's a super premium whiskey. And they know that, which is why I love them. They know it's not a super premium whiskey, but it's a price point that's right. It's solid, and it makes for good cocktails. And that was kind of what they wanted, because Lord knows the people in the military don't get paid nearly the amount that they should get paid. So why is someone in the military going to want to buy a military-based bottle for a premium price? No, that's not what Eric and Kyle want to do. They want to price it out to where their comrades, their brothers and sisters, can purchase this bottle and not break the bank. And in turn, the general public can do the same. So there's some big things. Regimental's got some big things going on. I'll probably have Eric on the pod on Who Gives a Dram just to talk some shit and drink some Regimental. But regardless, go give them a follow. Go check them out. They're definitely worth your time. Two great guys, and I had a great time seeing them yesterday. And that was at Foxwoods Resort and Casino in Mashantucket / North Stonington / Voluntown / whatever, Connecticut. I've seen a lot of things at Foxwoods. If you guys are from the area, then you know what Foxwoods is. But if you're not, I know I have a lot of people that listen across the country and across the world. Think of the largest casino in your area, and then that is nothing compared to Foxwoods. Foxwoods is legitimately, you can Google it, the largest casino in the world. I believe it's by square footage. It's not like the amount of slot machines or anything like that. Or I don't even know if it's most revenue generated. I just know square footage. It's the largest casino in the world. But yeah, man, that was fun. The cocktail carnival. It was a legit carnival. There was games going on. I had some Bullet had some reps there. Woodford had some reps there. Litchfield Distillery, which is in Connecticut. I talked to their brand ambassador for a bit about some things we could team up on in the future. There was a rep for Proper 12, not Proper 12, but the company that distributes Proper 12 in Connecticut was there. And there was probably about 2,000 or 2,500 people altogether, and it was in a huge ballroom, but it was still packed. I was actually kind of impressed with, 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in a casino. That's not where I want to be at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, but there were a lot of people there. And, I to be honest, I probably wouldn't have gone. I would have paid for tickets if I knew Eric and Regimental were going to be there, but they were kind enough to just give me tickets, so it was a win-win. Free booze, doing some chatting with Eric and getting to see all the different cocktails that were there, and every other step you could see someone hitting a weed pen, which is the weirdest thing to me. Like, and they're still trying to hide it, like it's like not like you can't fucking smell it. It's like, bro, I smell like it smells like I just walked into a dispensary when I walked by you. Why are you trying to hide it? You're not. You're doing a bad job, because I can point you out. It's like, oh, that's the guy right there. How do you know? Because he stinks. It's one of the bad things about weed is it just stinks. It smells so bad, at least to me. And this is coming from a cigar smoker. Speaking of cigars, I had a few cigars this weekend. I'm trying to think of what I drank. I don't even remember. I had a cigar Thursday night, and I poured some Peerless. I posted about it on Instagram. Thursday was a shitty day for multiple reasons, and I just was looking at my whiskey cabinet. I knew I was going to have a cigar. I was like, this has just been a shitty day. I want to have a cigar. I drank some Peerless. But before that, I went home real quick on Thursday, and to make my shitty day even worse, I forgot I had to even talk about this on the podcast. She-Hulk is the worst superhero content that I have seen ever. And I mean ever. I should just stop it right there, because I don't need to explain why She-Hulk sucks, but I will anyways. It's been one episode, and I already can't. I'm already so nervous for where Marvel is going based on episode 1 of She-Hulk. To start it all off, Bruce Banner makes a device that links into his body that suppresses the ability for him to turn into Hulk. So that right there just is impossible. If you're a comic book reader, you know that that's just not how this works. And to make it even worse, a Sakaran ship, Sakaar was the planet that the Hulk was on in Ragnarok, that Thor was on, where they battled. That's the planet Sakaar, the Grand Master, Jeff Goldblum. A Sakaran ship came down. I'm assuming that's going to lead to them having the Hulk's kid, which he doesn't know about right now. And She-Hulk and Bruce Banner, I don't know She-Hulk's name. She's just going to be called She-Hulk in this rant. Tumble off a ledge, and Bruce Banner gets hurt. He's bleeding, and he's the Hulk. Now, that was 5 minutes into the show, and that was where I was out. I was just like, this is not going to happen. I cannot stand this. The thing smashes. The device smashes, so he starts to turning into the Hulk a little bit. He starts to get mad, which is the first we've ever seen that, or not the first time we've seen that in a while, because he's Smart Hulk and he's always Hulk, and he says "bruh," which is don't even get me started. But his thing breaks, and he starts bleeding, and he bleeds into She-Hulk, who then turns into She-Hulk. So that's how She-Hulk becomes She-Hulk, because Bruce Banner's blood gets into hers. And then all of a sudden, it's like She-Hulk is just as powerful as the Hulk, which is the most lazy writing. It's just kind of like, oh, we need to have we need to have this female Hulk, this powerful female character, which I am all for. But we're not gonna waste time on building it to where she can kind of be comparable to the Hulk. We're just gonna make it happen because we're Disney writers and we don't really care because people are gonna watch this anyway. So she's already as strong as the Hulk, and there are things that happen. There are other things that really pissed me off in this whole sequence of events, throughout the episode, that I'm not even gonna touch on, because I just don't have enough time. But the thing with Bruce Banner's device that prevented him from being Hulk was the first strike. There were several strikes after that. There was an instance where the Hulk literally says "bruh." He turns back into Smart Hulk, and then he says "bruh." And I'm out. I think of the Hulk from 2008, and I'm just like, where is he? I want him. Even the Hulk from the Avengers, although he wasn't that good, it was just like, I want him. Anyways, all right, let's get back on track. What really pissed me off, and this show is all about female empowerment, which I am for. I am 1,000% for female empowerment, strong female leads, strong female characters. I'm all for it. But when the Hulk is telling you that you need to figure out what causes your anger and try to control it, since now you are a Hulk, and you come back with, well, I have to control my anger every single day when I get catcalled on the street, or when an incompetent man tries to tell me how to do my job. You don't know how much I control my anger. I control my anger an infinite amount of times more than you, the Hulk. Just step outside of the box and think about that for a second. The fact that was actually a line of dialogue made me cringe. And it made me cringe because I knew exactly what they were trying to say. They're trying to say, listen, I'm a female. I have to deal with all this stuff way more than you, a guy. But it's not just a guy. It would work if she was talking to anybody else but the Hulk. The one who literally has to control his anger at all times, or else worlds smash. So yeah, this show sucks, and that's that. The courtroom scene at the end was some of the worst Marvel content I've seen in my entire life. The fight scene at the end was, again, horrendous. It was almost blasphemous how bad this show is. But I'm going to continue to watch it for Daredevil. And I'm so worried about what they're going to do with Daredevil as well. Like, they're going to fuck up Daredevil bad. And I'm going to be so pissed. Fingers crossed that they don't, but they're gonna. I know they're gonna. That's all I want to talk about with Daredevil. With She-Hulk. I also watched Hill House again over the past week. My second favorite show of all time. Maybe that's what we'll talk about. Maybe we'll go top 5 shows and top 5 we'll go top 5 TV shows on Thursday and top 5 some type of whiskey category. If you have any suggestions, if you're listening to this pod and have any suggestions, let me know, because I'll do it. I think we're just going to do a quick podcast on Thursday. So I want to give my quick reactions to UFC 278 last night. We do have this full proof sitting in the glass. I want to let it rest because it is 125 proof, and I haven't had whiskey, so I want to let it air out a bit. UFC 278 was a good card, and I obviously have no regrets buying it. $75, by the way, which is just insane. I have no regrets buying it. Who? Huh. Sorry. Had to read a text message. Dead space. My bad. But also, don't really care. Anyways. It's my show. What the hell was I? Oh, UFC 278. Okay, right. So, UFC 278 was last night. And I just want to say this. The Jose Aldo fight was boring. Jose Aldo didn't do anything, and he deserved to lose. Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold. Now, I posted that Instagram reel / TikTok last week. Some people disagree with me. I felt like a lot of people agreed with me, and I was right. Your boy's right. It's almost like I watch this every single weekend. But that fight was so weird. It was top 5 weirdest fights I've ever watched in my entire life. Now, I knew there was no chance Luke Rockhold was going to win. But after 2 minutes into the first round, it was cemented in my head that Luke Rockhold wasn't going to win. If he were to win, it was going to be more so Paulo Costa is going to lose. Because Luke Rockhold looked goddamn awful. He looked terrible. His hands were on his knees 2 minutes into the fight. He looked awful. He didn't look awful, but his fighting style looked awful, you know? And Costa, that big dumb idiot, just kept on going forward, and the fight should have been over after a round because Rockhold was gassed, and Costa looked like he was doing okay. But for some reason, Costa couldn't finish Rockhold. I don't know why, but it ended up being a unanimous decision, 30-27 for Costa, which I called. I was with a few people. I was the only one who said it was 30-27. No one else wanted to agree that Costa was going to beat Rockhold. But I knew it, and I called it. So I hope you bet the house on Costa because that was easy money. Easy money. If you did, based on my input, give me 10%. But the main event is what made UFC 278 special. And I want to explain why Leon Edwards knocking out Kamaru Usman is the greatest UFC knockout of all time. There are several factors that play into why I think this, but the main factors are this. Kamaru Usman was the consensus number 1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet going into this fight, right? So that automatically either puts pressure on Edwards or alleviates pressure, because it's like no one's really expecting him to win. But we're gonna go with the fact that Edwards is a champion. He's got that dog in him. He's built different. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna assume that he put more pressure on himself because of the things I'm going to say. Usman being the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Usman on a 15-fight win streak. If he had beaten Edwards, he would have tied Anderson Silva for the longest UFC win streak in history. And not only those factors, Usman was on his 5th or 6th title defense. I don't know off the top of my head. But he had beaten, well, let's count. He beat Woodley, and then he beat Covington twice. So he beat Woodley, Covington twice, Masvidal twice, and Burns. So 5 title defenses, won 6 title fights. So this was going to be his 6th title defense and his 7th title fight. And that championship experience, especially the wars with Covington, really, really allow you to have a step up on your opponent, I would assume. Now, all of that aside, Usman has beaten Edwards before. And it wasn't even relatively a close fight. Like, it was close, but it wasn't that close. Usman won pretty handedly after watching highlights from that first fight earlier in the week. So Edwards has all this. He's going up against the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He's going against the guy who's vying for Anderson Silva's UFC win record, who's trying to tie that record. A record that most people think is untouchable. He's fighting a guy who's already beat him. He's fighting a guy with all the confidence in the world. He's fighting a guy who many say is the greatest welterweight of all time, even better than George St. Pierre. He's fighting a guy who, if he had beaten Edwards, he would be in talks for the top 5 greatest UFC fighters of all time, and there is a solid case to make him top 3 and not number 2 or 3. There is a case, if Usman beats Edwards, especially dominates him, that he would be the greatest fighter of all time. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he'd have to win one more time, but that's neither here nor there. There's several people, and it would have been a valid point. Now, all this into consideration, right? You took all that stuff I just said, and it doesn't matter because in the actual fight, Usman was kicking the shit out of Edwards. Edwards won round 1. He took down Usman, which was crazy. The first time Usman's ever been taken down in a UFC fight, ever. Edwards took him down. Edwards, the guy who doesn't wrestle, the striker, took down Usman, the greatest wrestler, or arguably the second greatest wrestler in the welterweight division history. Edwards wins round 1, and then he gets dominated 2, 3, 4, and for 4 minutes of round 5. He gets slobber knockered. He gets demolished. This is going to be a 49-46 win, unanimous decision for Kamaru Usman, with 1 minute left to go in the 5th round. And then all of a sudden, the announcers were writing off Edwards. The DC was saying we're writing his funeral. Rogan is saying it almost seems like he's just coasting. It's going to be a moral victory to not get finished by Usman. That Edwards is going to take a moral victory from this. And then all of a sudden, all it takes from Leon Edwards is out of the southpaw position, a feint right, and a not even very high kick that Usman just couldn't read, went for the low block, and Edwards, it was one of the most picture-perfect kicks I've ever seen in my entire life. And it wasn't necessarily even a high kick. Usman was going for the low block and kind of put his head down as he was blocking. Knocked out cold. New welterweight champion. All of those reasons I just said encompassed into one is exactly why this is the greatest UFC knockout of all time. And I won't take any slander, and I won't accept any other answers, because I know that deep in your plums, person who's watching this or listening, deep in your plums or your lady plums, deep in your plums or your lady plums, you know that I'm right. Shout out Leon Edwards. I wrote him off. No chance Leon Edwards is going to win this fight. Good fighter. Hasn't really fought anybody. Beat Nate Diaz. So what? He barely has fought in the past 3 or 4 years. Not going to win. And he did it, man. He flippin' did it. In the craziest reaction to a knockout I've ever had. Maybe since McGregor-Aldo. People will say Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey was a more iconic knockout. And as of right now, you're absolutely right. The difference, and my argument to that, is Holly Holm was already beating up Ronda Rousey by the time that head kick came around. I think in round 2. Could be wrong. Holly Holm was already beating the shit out of Ronda Rousey. It was reversed for Edwards. Edwards was getting the shit beat out of him. He was losing that fight. Like I said, it was going to be a 49-46 unanimous decision, which is Usman 4 rounds, Edwards 1, dominant fashion. And that's why the UFC is the greatest sport on this planet and the greatest sport of all time, because it takes 1 second. It reminded me of Yair Rodriguez versus the Korean Zombie. A main event that was flashy, that was, brutal, lots of blood, lots of strikes landed, a lot of significant strikes. Korean Zombie was on his way to win. 5 seconds left in the first round. Yair Rodriguez throws a spinning back elbow that lands flush on Zombie and knocks him out with 5 seconds to go in the fight. In a fight that Yair Rodriguez was going to lose. This was very similar, but the stakes and the pressure was infinitely more for Edwards because he's facing Usman, number 1 pound for pound, one of the greatest of all time, unbeaten, swag, or not swag, confidence, just oozing confidence going into the ring. Everybody wrote off Edwards. He's like a -3 something, or he's a plus 350 dog or something like that. Usman's been dominating everybody. He knocked the hell out of Masvidal. He beat Covington twice. He knocked out Gilbert Burns with a jab. Just a absolute animal. And Leon Edwards head kicked him into another dimension. Into the shadow realm, as Masvidal would say. Yeah, man. Probably the greatest knockout I've ever seen. And for my money, the greatest knockout in UFC history. And I don't say that with recency bias. I slept on it. I'm recording this podcast today because I still believe that I am correct in that statement. Greatest UFC knockout of all time. And it just so happened that 5 days prior, I interviewed Bruce Buffer, and we talked about UFC 273 very quickly, but we still talked about it. So I like to think that happened just because I was connected with Bruce Buffer, who, by the way, looked sharp and one of the best times I've ever heard. I don't know if he had the Bourbon with Friends push. He was thinking about us and how great of a time he had on our podcast, but I like to think that's the case. All right. It's been 33 minutes. Let's talk about some whiskey. Why don't we? Man, that was such a freaking good card. Next weekend's card is great as well. Cyril Gane versus, is it Tuivasa? Yeah. Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa. I'm really rooting for Tai Tuivasa. Well, at this point, I don't really care because Tom Aspinall is hurt for the next 2 years. So I would, if you go back and listen, I've said this on the podcast, I think that one of the biggest fights the heavyweight division could make right now would have been Tom Aspinall versus Tai Tuivasa. But that's out the window because Tom Aspinall got hurt against Curtis Blades. But I would like Tai Tuivasa to win because he's very fun. Cirogan's a beast. I'll probably take Cirogan in that fight. And then we'll also, don't worry, I know Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev is coming up. I have some thoughts about that as well. We'll talk about that the week before his fights, that pay-per-view, September 10th, so a few more weeks. What's next for Leon Edwards? I also want to touch on this. What's next for Leon Edwards? Most logical path forward is a immediate rematch versus Usman. That is probably what's going to happen, and Usman deserves it more than anybody. However, you know who's a really, really, really good matchup for Leon Edwards and vice versa for this other gentleman? Someone that could beat Leon Edwards, and there's a realistic chance. My guy. I wouldn't be surprised if they come in with Conor McGregor. Try to make him the triple champ. Conor McGregor could beat Leon Edwards. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he'd be favored. I'm saying styles make fights. Leon Edwards is a southpaw striker. That's not very big for the welterweight division. Conor McGregor is a southpaw striker and probably a better striker, all things considered, than Leon Edwards. Size would make a difference, but we've seen McGregor bulking up. I would not be surprised if they pulled the trigger. And the UFC would be stupid if they're not thinking the way I'm thinking right now, in terms of what's going to make them. They must know that Edwards is a really good matchup for McGregor, and vice versa, and it sells itself. McGregor going for the triple champ status. First time ever in UFC history. He'd be the first double champ and then the first triple champ. It's a storyline that's built into itself. Now, it seems like McGregor kind of likes Edwards. They're part of the same agency. They're represented by the same people, so I don't know if that'll happen. Also, if Nate Diaz somehow beats Chimaev, I mean, we all saw what happened with Diaz versus Edwards the last time they fought. Edwards won, but Diaz rocked him in the fifth. So, bringing that back. But I'm sure they'll do Usman next. The Usman-Edwards 3 for the Undisputed Welterweight Championship. But I digress. Let's get into the whiskey. As I said, we are going to be doing some 1792 Foolproof today. This is a whiskey that I have had for a while. It sits on my shelf. I actually drink it quite often. I've had it for well over a year. You can see it's about halfway gone, so it's actually had time to age a bit. There's some little particle-y poos, in there. That's how long it's been. Real cork, so I'm sure it's just dissolving a little bit. 1792, distilled by Barton. Barton is owned by Sazerac, which is also the parent company of Buffalo Trace, which is why I think 1792 is priced ridiculously on the secondary market, because people will see that it's owned by Sazerac and just assume it's a Buffalo Trace, and they'll go, oh, Foolproof has the word proof in it. It must be the same as Barrel Proof, which is Stag Jr., which couldn't be further from the truth. But Barton, again, still 1792. 1792 does single barrel, small batch, Foolproof. They have their sweet wheat. They have their port finish, I believe. And I think they have one or two more. I don't know. But I've always been so-so about 1792. I like it. I don't believe their mash bill is disclosed, but I read that it's like 75% corn, and then it's a kind of a high rye, 15% rye, 10% barley. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I read. I'm a big high rye or a big high corn guy, so I'm sure I'll get that on the flavor profile here. But if we're gonna read the back of the bottle, it says, "Bourbon insiders have long acknowledged that Foolproof bourbon has a distinctively rich flavor. This bourbon has been bottled at its original 125 barrel entry proof, just as it was years ago when the barrels were first filled. Strong and full of flavor, this bold bourbon boasts an incredible deep and smoky taste, superbly balanced with sweet vanilla and notes of caramel. I hate reading tasting notes on bottles because it's the most generic shit I've ever read. So just let us figure out what we're going to taste. Like, don't tell me I'm going to get caramel and vanilla, because that's what the same case with every single fucking bourbon out there. Just say something else on the bottle. But you'll notice that they say on the back here, has been bottled at its original 125 barrel entry proof, just as it was years ago. So barrel entry proof, different than barrel proof. And I'm going to quickly explain the difference here in layman's terms, because that's what I do. Essentially, what full proof is you take the white dog that comes off the still. In this case, this white dog at Barton came off the still at 125 proof. They put it in the barrel. These barrels, again, they don't say the age. I read, what did I say? 8.5 years. So they're older barrels, supposedly. I don't think it's been released how old these barrels are. But again, I read on Breaking Bourbon, 8.5 years, right? 8.5 years, supposedly. This white dog is then, it comes off the still at 125 proof. They put it in the barrels. When it's done with the barrels, the proof fluctuates depending on where it is in the rick house, how long it's in the barrel for, what happens, what the climate is like. There's so many variables that can affect the proof to either go up or down. However, what full proof is they either keep it at, they proof the whiskey from the barrel to 125 proof, which is its original entry proof, which is what it says on the back of the bottle here. So they either proof it up or proof it down to 125 proof. They usually got to proof it down, I believe, but by adding, a little bit of water to it. So a full proof bourbon, Weller full proof, 1792. There's one more full proof that I know of. Can't think of it though, but there could be water added to it. So that doesn't necessarily mean there's no water. There could be water added to it. Now, cask strength, barrel strength, what that is that is directly from the barrel. So that's not necessarily the same entry proof as what the white dog or, what comes directly off the still. It's not necessarily the same proof as that. It fluctuates. So that's literally the same thing as thieving whiskey from the barrel. That big long straw thing, and then you pour it into the glass. We posted videos of it on Bourbon with Friends TikTok. That is a legit barrel proof. That's how they bottle it. No filtration, no nothing. Just barrel proof. That's the difference between cask strength, barrel strength, which are the same thing, and full proof. For anybody who didn't know, because I didn't know for the longest time. I just assumed it was some type of barrel strength, which it is, but it's technically not barrel strength. That's the difference between this full proof here. I don't know why people do it. I assume it's marketing, why people have to denote full proof, barrel strength, cask barrel, freaking cracker barrel. I don't know, man. But they like to signify full proof. Same thing with Weller. Same thing with whoever else does full proof, but let's sniff this shit. It actually smells really good. Really fruity, like grapey. Right off the bat, this has been sitting for a half hour 45 minutes this has been sitting for, so solid little air out right here. Heavy grape on the nose is what I'm getting. Fruit and grape on the nose abundantly. I'm talking like grape, Big League Chew grape. You ever have Big League Chew grape? Yeah, that's what this is. A little bit of vanilla and that typical bullshit that you've always seen in bourbon. Caramel, vanilla, blah, blah, blah. There is a bit of a barrel tone in here as well, a wood tone, which if it is 8.5 years, a blend of 8.5-year-old bourbon, that would make sense. This is an older bourbon. Grape off the wahoo, a little bit of mint in there. This is like a very spunky, hippie smelling. This is like math. Okay. So last week I compared. Last week I compared. What the fuck bourbon did I do? Oh, Weller 12 year. I compared it to Josh Duhamel because it was like an attractive bourbon, but it's never gonna win, people's sexiest man of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like it's fine, but it's never gonna go to that level with where it's at. This reminds me of something that tries to be different, right? Now I'm still getting that grape, that mint. I'm still, I'm getting a bit more vanilla now, and that corn is beginning to come forward the more I swirl it in my glass here. But this smells like something that tries to be different. This smells like something that changes. I feel like this changes depending on what mood you're in. Like if this was like after dinner or something, I feel like this changes significantly. Like I remember getting strong oak on this before, and now I don't really get a whole lot of oak. Even just between sniffy poos here, I get more grape and mint, and now I'm getting a little bit more vanilla. The barrel strength of the barrel kind of plays into whether I'm getting actual barrel spice from it, or I'm getting some type of other like hidden background spice, like an allspice or some type of clove maybe. Like it changes. And if I'm gonna compare that to a handsome guy, because I feel like that's gonna be my shtick now, right? I'll compare whatever whiskey I'm drinking to a handsome or not so handsome guy. This reminds me of Matthew McConaughey because it's ever changing, at least on the nose, and it's almost like just a relaxed, like put your shoulders down, take a load off, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like this reminds me of Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused, or it's definitely not Matthew McConaughey in what's that movie? Interstellar. When he's all up in arms and he starts crying over his daughter growing up while he's on another planet searching for black holes. This is the Matthew McConaughey of whiskey. Which is a compliment. If Matthew McConaughey sees this clip somewhere, that's a compliment. That's not a dig. I want to make that loud and clear. All right, let's take a sip. Oops, that sucked. Nice. Cheers. 91 episodes of Who Gives a Dram. Let's drink 1792 Full Proof. Ooh, that's hot. Fire down my throat. Lots of vanilla on the way down. Really hot. Almost like hot tamale hot. Like I don't even get cinnamon. I just kind of get hotness. Like sour. Not sour. It's not sour. But you know how when you taste something so sour, it's just like... It just tastes like a bunch of like... noise in your mouth, like it just tastes like things happening in your mouth and you don't know what it is. You can't decipher it. You can't put your finger on what you're tasting. It's just sour. Like your mouth gets numb, so you can't. That's what this is. First sip. I mean, it was hot. That fruitiness does stay on the palate though. First thing forward is that grape. I get a lot of grape with this. Grape big league chew. Except it does stay longer. This taste stays longer than the grape big league chew does, because grape big league chew, or big league chew in general, the taste goes away in 30 seconds. But for that 30 seconds, it's awesome. My mouth is salivating right now because of how like hot this is. That's what they said about me in high school. Sorry. Man, this is solid. This is definitely solid. It's not bad, but it's definitely pretty freaking hot. Good winter bourbon. Lots of spice and hotness on the palate. It's almost, the hotness is almost like, because it's not spice. It's like barrel spice. It's just very like proof spice. Rest in peace, Proof D12. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be Eminem when I was a kid so bad. I tried rapping once. Yeah. Not sure why I just said that, but yeah, I tried rapping once, and I was pretty good. I was always a good writer. You know, history and writing were my two strong suits, so yeah, I was actually a ghostwriter for Lil Wayne. I got through that sentence like a subject and a predicate. That was me. Sorry. Yeah, man, this is good stuff. I mean, this is it's hot. It's really hot, but the flavors that I get from it, I like the fruit forward note that I'm getting. I think that's a little different. Built different, like Leon Edwards. It's just kind of too hot for me, man. Like, there are some barrel strengths, for example, Stag Jr., where it just doesn't drink like the proof. Rye 3 Cask Strength, which I finally was able to crack a few weeks ago when we had Karthik on the podcast on Bourbon with Friends, which, again, will be out soon. Finally able to crack that, and does not drink like the proof it is. I think it's just about this proof. I think it's right around 125, that Rye 3 Cask Strength. Damn. So good. It's hot, but it's good. I like this a lot. The more my mouth gets used to the numbness of the proof, lots of corn, vanilla going down, and then a nice heavy vanilla on the back end, like on the finish. This is good, man. This is definitely a hot whiskey. So if you're not, I wouldn't drink this when the sun is up. Let's put it that way. It's gonna be too hot. I don't care if it's the middle of winter in Antarctica. If the sun is up, it's too hot for this. It needs to be nighttime. This is a nighttime pour. This is like an after dinner pour. You know, like how the gentlemen have brandies after dinner. That's what Calvin Candy said, you know, to Django and Dr. King Schultz in Django Unchained. You know, they're in the brandy, gentlemen. How about that? This is like the brandy of whiskey. This is like perfect for after dinner. I feel like if I drank enough of this, it wouldn't even get me drunk. It just put me to sleep. I don't know why, but I'm already getting tired, and I've had 3 sips, and my mouth just will not stop salivating. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna give this. This is solid, man. MSRP probably like, I don't know, $50. I think. I'm not really. I have no idea what I paid for this. Is there still a price tag somewhere? No. I have no idea what I paid for this bottle. I'm gonna guess $50 to $55. It's a buy at that. I mean, Cask Strength is all the craze right now in whiskey. Full proof, barrel proof, Cask Strength, Cracker Barrel. It's what people want in whiskey. This won an award, some big award in 2020, I think, or 2019 or something like that. But it's solid, man. If you can find it for $50, $55 or less, solid pickup. I would recommend it. I'm gonna give this like an 8.6. It's definitely not something that I would reach for daily, but at the end of a long day, this is like such the epitome of end of a long day. Get something high proofed in my belly. That's not hazmat. That's not 180 or whatever Jack Daniels does now with Coy Hill. It's just a simple, high proof, hot whiskey that you should have after dinner, and you shouldn't drink when the sun's out. Even though the sun's out technically right now, but I'm in my studio, so I don't have all my windows are covered for optimal sound reduction. 8.6. Stamp that. Who gives a dram? 1792 full proof. And that's going to do it for the episode. About an hour today. Like I said, I'm probably going to hit you guys back up on like Thursday. I think I'm going to start to do 2 episodes a week. And hopefully you guys like that. But, yeah, it's easy for me to record these podcasts because I can do it whenever. and I like doing them. So if you have any suggestions of what you'd want to hear for like a bonus podcast, I'm thinking maybe we'll talk about TV shows next week, top 5 TV shows, and maybe pair them with a whiskey or something like that. I don't know. I'll think about it, but we'll do something. I'll do something for you guys, especially because I've missed a few weeks. I'll make up for lost time, and we'll do 2 episodes this week. Looking forward to that. Very excited to do that for you guys. Thank you for listening to me ramble on for the 91st episode of this show. Episode 100 is going to be a huge one. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but episode 100 will be, let's see. Especially if we're going to do 2 episodes a week. Where's the calendar on my laptop? There it is. If we do 2 episodes a week, right? So let's back out of here. And I probably should just do this, like, not right now. But I'm going to, year. So we'll do 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. It'll be like in September. It'll definitely be before the end of the year. That's a given. So episode 100 will be a slobber knocker. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet, but we'll do something. And yeah, I appreciate you guys joining me. Who gives a dram? Bourbon with Friends, all podcast platforms. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave the video a like on YouTube and leave a comment. That would make me very happy. You should head kick the subscribe button on YouTube and all podcast platforms like Leon Edwards head kicked Kamaru Usman. That would make me a happy camper. Rating, reviews on iTunes always help. Spread the word. Follow on Instagram, Who Gives a Dram, BWF Podcasts, and keep up with all of my whiskey journeys. Lots of good episodes coming out this week. And I'm going to watch Game of Thrones tonight, the new House of the Dragon, and we'll talk about that on Thursday, along with other things, and that would actually tie in nice to the top 5 TV shows. So yeah, we'll talk about House of Dragons on Thursday. We'll talk top 5 TV shows probably, and we'll pair them with whiskeys or something. I don't know. We'll do something like that. And I'll see you guys then. Thank you for joining, and always remember, whiskey's the water of life. So let's start living.